Laura, great to see you again. Welcome back to Popternative.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. So good to see you. How are you? How is
I
life?
I am doing well. It's been a minute. There's a lot going on. I love this film. This film was so good. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Absolutely. Like I'm a filmmaker now too these days, which is pretty crazy. And I kind of wanted to ask you because, every time I look at movies that have music or a sport in it, you could look at it two ways, right? You could say this is a music movie that has romance, self-reflection, or this is like a self-reflection drama comedy that has music in it. Which one was it for you of original sound?
Ooh, great question. Yeah, to me, in itself, like original sound is a character piece. So I feel like it's when I think about it, it is this movie about these characters and what they're going through. And I think music is a character in itself. Music's a very big character in this movie, but it's like it is also part of the journey is the music's emotional journey as well, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. And to add to that, I'm wondering from a preparation perspective, you acted in this and then you also provided music for this with David, and it's so good. I love the songs. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Was it a different kind of like you wear many hats, like the music and then the acting? Did it feel like two different kind of preparations doing the original music for this and then acting in it, or was it one big storytelling hat?
You know what? It totally was the latter. It felt really like they fed into each other so much where, oh, I got to do like amazing prep work for Ryan by writing these songs with Eric and Glenn, our music producers. Um, and then I felt like as I stepped on, stage to film, I already kind of knew her because I was writing from her perspective.
Mhm.
Whereas also like actually writing the songs really it's not that they came more easily, but it was having this like, oh, we're writing from her perspective and like this is her journey. It gave like a level of freedom, if that makes sense, where I'm
Absolutely.
like, sometimes when you're writing for yourself, there's sometimes other people involved. So you're kind of like, you know, people who've inspired the songs where you can, sometimes limit yourself of like what you're saying versus for Ryan. I'm like, oh, all bets are off. I get to like write from her perspective and have fun with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's also interesting to see the kind of development between the characters in terms of kind of this like, especially with your character, like, oh my God, like what is going on? I have to deal with this, right? And then it kind of, blossoms into something more, right? And I love seeing that in the film. And I'm wondering, right, these characters that are doing, self-reflection, soul searching and everything, do you find that more fun or like challenging from an acting storyteller perspective? Because from a viewer perspective, right, like they don't know they're lost, which I
Yeah,
find very
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
I think that's interesting. It's like I think it actually can be quite challenging because there's a lot internally that's going on. So there's, a lot that can be like nuanced with the journey. If that,
Mhm.
if I'm like kind of like painting that picture there in terms of I think that you are really not what's going on in Ryan's head isn't always what's like going to be on the page and isn't always what like the audience is going to immediately be able to grab onto. And you have to like you either like lean into that nuance or you try to go in a different direction that's like a little bit bigger. And I think with this film, we all with all our characters very much leaned into like, oh, this is a like I said, like it's a character piece where everyone's like internal journey is going through a lot of different layers. And I think we're not going to like spell it out of what those layers are and what that journey is, but it certainly affects their decisions and is why the characters start from where they start and end where they end.
It's great, no, absolutely. And I did want to ask in regards to, when you work on something that is, that has original source material before it, right? Whether it is a play or a movie or a TV show, right? Or a book, I feel like that's very interesting. And there could be this ping pong match and tug of war of like, you're going to kind of think about the original source material, right? Or you're going to kind of leave it alone. What was that like for this? Because this was based on a production, right?
Yes,
So
it's,
like, what was that? What was that
well,
like for you?
It was really cool because it was based on this off-Broadway play, and a lot of the people who were involved in the play were involved in the movie, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, the playwright Adam Seidel also is our screenwriter. Julie Crosby, who produced the movie, produced the play. So very much it it was kind of like I think handled really beautifully because it certainly was obviously the inspiration of the movie. But I also think because we had the people involved in the creative also for the play also involved in the movie, like I don't think any of us were nervous about not doing the play justice because we had people who felt even more passionate about doing that than we did. And we already felt very passionate about it. So, I think it was like a really great balance of paying homage to it while also, having a different uh interpretation
Yeah.
of it for the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. You can answer this with original sound or just in general past projects, but conversations are always going to happen when you're in a journey on a production, right? Before you go
Yeah.
to camera, while you're going to camera, even after you wrap, right? Depending on your involvement too, the post productions. I'm just curious, like, when do you like enjoy those conversations? Like, because sometimes when you're like ready to rock, especially indie film, there's not a lot of time, right? And that's your time to shine and everything. When do you like having a lot of those like storytelling conversations with your cast and with your directors? Like, what's that like for you?
I mean, yes, I'm like, in my perfect world, it's like we have a couple weeks of rehearsal and we get to like find this all together,
Mhm.
which we were not able to have with this film. So we got to, go in this, we had to record the music before we started filming. So that in some ways acted as our, like time to ask questions and figure some things out. And it was like a really great collaboration. Adam is like super collaborative. Greg is super collaborative. Everyone was so involved in terms of like, let's make this the best we can make it.
Mhm.
And I think that, I also like simultaneously while filming very much. And I always try to do this because I believe for me, selfishly, it is really helpful. And I hope it is helpful for my, other actors. But like David and we would go over to like his place and rehearse the scenes. Eric and we met at this like vegan restaurant like quite a few times and went over the scenes. And so I felt like with this movie in particular, man, the work was because we just didn't have a lot of time, was happening like simultaneous to us doing everything. And I think the benefit of doing that is like it felt very fresh, which can be scary because I'm like, oh, I want to work on it forever and then do from that work do the performance, which we just like didn't have that opportunity. But I think we certainly made it work to the best of our ability.
No, absolutely. And then last question before we wrap up. I find it interesting, right? Because different roles, different projects. But in the beginning of this interview, I asked you about like if you saw original sound as a music movie that has everything in it, or vice versa. Austin and Ally, to me, growing up, was always a music show. It was always
Totally.
music, music, music. Like
Totally.
literally the whole time, even though it was like funny and everything, but like it was all music. And I'm wondering like how separate or past things like compared to something like this. Like, did you bring kind of mindsets from Austin and Ally or past projects to original sound, or they completely like separate once you wrap them?
Oh, I always no, I always have like I feel like I always bring a little of myself to every character I play, and I always bring a little of every character I play into me for the future. So no, I mean, Ali certainly was in my head doing this film, but
This
so
character is
was
very different to Ally's.
yes, she's very different from Ali, which was kind of exciting to me. Like she looks different, she sounds different, she acts different. Um, but I mean, I bring like a little bit of like Celia from The Perfect Date. I bring a little bit of like Izzy from The Royal Treatment. I don't know if necessarily like some of the stuff like played young Deborah in season one of Dexter. I don't know if I'm like bringing her necessarily into it, but I feel like I always
Surprised we haven't brought up super bad if your boy that be.
totally exactly like I don't know if I'm always necessarily bringing those characters, but yeah, I feel like with this one in particular because the stories like there is like a parallel between the stories and Austin and
Yes.
Ally. I'm the one who's being stolen from, and original sound, I'm the one who's doing the stealing. For sure, it was like more in the
Oh,
forefront of my brain than it usually, Ally usually is, I would say, for characters I played. But I think anytime I'm doing a character that has music involved, where she's a singer or songwriter, I of course like reference or think of Ally because that was my first foray into doing music for film and television and also like doing music professionally. I was always like doing it very amateurly before that show. So this one was really fun because she could not have been more different from Allie or any. I've played like three roles, whether it's Allie, I think Kat from the Cinderella story Christmas Wish,
Mhm.
Cammy and She's Love, all three of these girls who did music, and all three of them had like stage fright and like were too nervous to perform. And Ryan like doesn't have that issue, and that was really fun. Ryan's like, no, I'm meant to be, I want to perform. This is who I am. I'm not gonna apologize for it. She definitely was the most like aggressive character that I've played, and I mean that in a great way.
No, absolutely. Austin and Ally, so good. I remember like Austin and Ally were great characters, but I always said this before. I talked to Colin about this. Dez is like one of my favorite like Disney
Yeah.
Channel characters of all time. By the
Yes.
way, I'm just like so good.
Honestly, some of my favorite like videos that will pop up my feed, which obviously says a lot about my algorithm,
Mhm.
is like Des videos where it's just like people, and a fan actually sent this to me and I loved it, of someone edited Des in Stranger Things, like reacting to certain things. And I just was like, first of all, who thought of this? Second of all, wait, I love this. This is amazing. And I showed it to Caleb, and Caleb was like, this is so weird and I love it. I'm like, I know, and I love it too.
So amazing. Yeah, absolutely the best. But I can't wait for people to see original sound because I really enjoyed this film. Congratulations. So good to see you again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching, and thank you for just being awesome.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.